A Canadian priest who has covered the Vatican says it's time to turn down the temperature when it comes to the clergy sex abuse scandal. Father Raymond de Souza, who's based in Ontario, writes, "The scene at the Vatican appears to have gone from bad to worse, but that does not mean that there is not a reasonable way forward, both in terms of rooting out corruption in the church and restoring a measure of harmony." Father Raymond joins me now. He's editor-in-chief of Convivium and contributor to the National Catholic Register, where he wrote about the issue. Father Raymond, welcome to the program. Why do you think we need to turn down the temperature, and how do you propose we do it?
Well, I think that Wyatt, we're in unprecedented waters with the senior archbishop, a former nuncio, calling for the resignation of the Pope. I think that makes things more inflammatory. It brings out a lot of defensiveness, even hostility. An investigation is going to go ahead. It's going to be public. It's going to expose a lot of things that we prefer not to see, but it's necessary. But that's going to cause problems for our unity. And I think if we can turn down our rhetoric and at least our sort of back and forth, let's go ahead. I'm not denying that we need a proper investigation, but we're in this together at the end of it for the sake of the gospel. And I think we have to tend to sort of not unnecessarily fraying our bonds of unity.
I want to go back to your earlier point because you say it was a mistake for Archbishop Vigano to call for the resignation of Pope Francis. Now, Ed Peters, one of the most prominent canon lawyers in the church today, disagrees, saying if Vigano's allegations are proven, I think a papal refusal to resign would be a catastrophe for Catholic credibility and unity. So what's your response to that?
Well, we're not at that stage yet, and we've never had that. In living memory, no one I know of that stature has ever called for a pope to resign. And I think Archbishop Vigano should have made his charges in a more measured way. They will be investigated. The American bishops have already committed to that. But the call for a resignation, as you can see in the last 10 days, 2 weeks, has created a very feverish backlash. And I think the matters at issue are serious enough that we could have done without that. There'll be time enough when we know what the investigation shows to entertain those questions. I think it's premature.
So aside from just any potential inflammatory rhetoric, do you see a scenario in which it's appropriate for Vatican officials to resign?
Well, Vatican officials resigning is a lot different than the Pope resigning. I mean, they're two different things. There will be, I think, some resignations, as we've seen already. For example, in Chile, the entire episcopate resigned. That was very dramatic. So there will be, after this investigation is complete, some prelates will step down or retire. That's going to happen. I think that's not controversial, but I think calling for the Pope was a little incendiary.
What more can be done, do you think, to refocus the discussion on victims of clergy sex abuse?
Sincere efforts are being made to listen to them. I think that one of the good things of the Pennsylvania report is that we actually heard some of that raw testimony from victims. And as there are going to be prayer services, holy hours of reparation, discussions in parishes and so forth, it wouldn't be inappropriate to include in a moderate way some of that testimony so that people feel that pain. I think that would be a good thing to do.
Okay, well, we really appreciate your talking about the issue and giving us your insight as well. Father Raymond de Souza, editor-in-chief of Convivium and a contributor to the National Catholic Register, thanks so much.
Thank you, Wyatt.